but the information that was on the video itself was propaganda.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean the picture? Wait, the information was correct, but the picture was propaganda?
No, the picture was correct. It showed an uprising, people gathered together at like a protest or something. But the information that was on the screen depicting the crowd, saying the crowd was there for this, that was the propaganda.
So what was the crowd really there for?
It was from shit. It was from a different event. I forget what the event was, but so the guy explained it. The person who explained it, he's like, that event was something else.
So
and the propaganda.
They took that footage from another event and they put it on this event to make it look more violent or whatnot, right? That's
Well,
called
go ahead. Yeah. No, they took the picture, right? The picture was like, it's a half truth, right? It's a half truth. So the picture, the event happening behind the information is true, but the information they're trying to say that the crowd was about was false.
True. So what do you regard that as? Would you regard that as a lie, a half truth, or
it's a half truth, and it's also manipulation of media.
And so it's all a lie, right?
Well, no, it's a half truth, because the event behind, that's what makes it somewhat credible, is the event behind it makes it credible because that actually happened.
Right.
But the information regarding that video is false, misinformation.
So that's what propaganda is. It's when you take that's exactly what propaganda is. It's when you take things that are real and you make people feel a certain way by manipulating those factors. That's what propaganda is.
Right. They haven't used video for it. You know what I mean? That's a new part of it. They use video to propagandize now.
What does your shirt say?
I forget.
It says, first you don't succeed. Try doing what Mark told you to do the first time. Are you Mark?
Yeah, it's my name.
All right, cool.
My name is Mark.
Mark, it's nice to meet you. I'm Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. This is the Tommy Nation Politics podcast. I actually clicked go live like 10 seconds ago. So
I'm sorry.
We're live, guys, and we are bringing you the news, and we're bringing you political commentary, free thinking, innovative, open-minded way. That's what we do on Tommy Nation Politics. This is my guest, Mark, and he's a TikTok live streamer, very popular mod on the Relentless live stream. Amazing, tremendous live stream. We learn a lot. We actually demonstrate how we can actually change and be effective in changing the landscape of the political landscape, and maybe actually turn over the tide of the lesser of evils, and actually have good people rule instead. I feel like that. What do you think, Mark? Do you think that like Relentless is doing a really good job at demonstrating how we can all talk to each other and come to like agreements like that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good job with that, and it comes from a point of view with facts as well. So you start with a fact, you're going to end with a fact, and it's not about changing minds. I'm sorry.
That's what I like about you and Relentless is that you guys want to see facts. You guys want to see proof. That's really cool. I like how you question. If you don't bend to the will of the conventional wisdom, if you question authority, if you somehow look at the mainstream media and you say that they're manufacturing consent for the elites, then you have gone down the rabbit hole to Tommy Nation Politics. And we are the podcast for you. We're free thinking, innovative, open-minded. And we're going to delve in, by the way, to the truths that society often hides in plain sight, like we were talking about earlier. We're talking about basically the cycle of violence and how violence is it's just like slavery, just like these things impact the sins of the fathers, impact the sons. It just really is true. I think it's biblical. Is it biblical, Mark?
I'm not sure. I'm not very.
Have you heard that? This is the father. My mom would always say that, but it's true. The sins of the father do go down to the sins of the son. They inherit them. We've inherited quite a lot. Massive deficits.
I think it's supposed to be the other way around. I think the fathers of the the sins of the father should not be the sins of the son. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Should not be.
Yeah, it should not be.
I mean, but we should. So essentially, we should not have to die, but we do. It's just a part of life, though, right? And so
Well,
it is that
yeah.
the sins of others.
It's the cycle of life. Is
What's that?
birth and death. I said that's the cycle of life, which is birth and death.
It's the
But,
circle of life. Like it's also part of a cycle, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like every cycle, like the cycle of life and the cycle of violence, it goes on and on and on, ever to be repeated. Just like history kind of repeats itself when you don't have the proper tools and information, critical thinking skills to stop that from happening. Cycles start to happen. So, guys, we're really talking about that. If you guys want to follow Trust Me Broski, this is his TikTok.
I'm not very popular.
We're going to talk about a cycle of violence, and we're going to get right into it. Please allow me to introduce my topic with a wonderfully edited video, as I always do. Please like it, share, subscribe this stream to your friends, and
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today?
It says the leap to freedom is not about strength.
My body makes the jump.
Survival is the spirit, the soul.
My soul is as ready to escape as my body.
Fear is why you fail.
No, I'm not afraid. I'm angry.
I want to show you what's happening in Southern California right now in Los Angeles. City leaders are working to manage dual protests. This is a live picture right now. You can see law enforcement. It looks like they're deploying tear gas right now. You can see them moving forward. I see a man with a scooter backing up very quickly right now. This is the scene right now. This was, of course, first they had the immigration demonstrations that have been going on for a week now, but you also have on top of that tens of thousands of people gathering downtown for the No King's Day protest. So the city of Los Angeles is now dealing with two protests at once. We can see, that gas being deployed out there right now. This is the scene right now. You see those flashes. It looks like they're deploying numerous things out there right now. We're going to try to work to get more information on what exactly is happening right there in Los Angeles. But yeah, this is downtown right now, and this is what we're seeing because of those dual protests. Now, this is the No Kings protest where this is happening right now. So it seems things are a bit more chaotic in Los Angeles than what we've seen in some of our other pictures we've seen. We just showed you San Francisco. Well, it does not appear to be as peaceful as what we saw here, even in Sacramento.
This is not just a plan to hand over $700 billion of your money to a few banks. If this is managed correctly, we will hopefully get most or all of our money back.
Right, so again, this is what we're looking at right now in Los Angeles. This is a live picture. This is happening at this moment. We're seeing a lot of crowds out there, and what appears to be law enforcement. They were moving forward at one point, but Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass was urging everyone to protest peacefully and emphasizing that vandalism or destruction of property will not be allowed. Take a listen.
And as people march today, my call is please, please do not give the administration an excuse to intervene. Let's make sure we show the world the best of Los Angeles and our country.
They let you do it. You can do anything. Whatever you want. Grab them by the pussy. You can do anything.
You do not fear death. You think this makes you strong. It makes you weak.
Why?
How can you move faster than possible, fight longer than possible, without the most powerful impulse of the spirit? The fear of death.
I do fear death. I fear dying in here, while my city burns. There's no one there to save it.
Then make the climb.
I'm headed to the bottom of the bottle. I've been drowning, I've been floating away. Every other dollar that I got in bed, I probably went and pissed it away. I ain't fucking okay, I ain't liking it, babe. I don't even wanna talk, I'm just smoking my haze. I've been stuck in my ways, I've been stuck here for days. I've been staring at the clock as the radio plays. I'm enslaved. Yeah. Rolling another, I'm stuck in my seat for the whole control of my speech. Yeah, I've been trying to get off this couch for a minute and a whole damn week. No kidding, I'm skinny, I cannot eat. Got a million motherfuckers that depend on me. Yeah, every friend in my family, from a girl, every fan I meet myself. I'm too on till I'm too off. Come down to make new thoughts, like jumping off of that rooftop. Hold my camera when I do not to make moves based on my mood drops. Like who's lost? Like who's lost? It's yo, steadily killing me, running my brain full of shame. I don't wanna lose it. Full of stage, trying to find my pain. See the sun coming out of that rain. My day really not tame. I'ma never slow down, I'ma never behave. Stuck inside this prison, inside this cage, it's taking over. Yeah, I'm a slave for you. I'm a slave for you. Ripping harder, more less. Never stop, no rest. Till the stress is breath in my chest. Till it's diamonds wrapping my neck. Progress to a god from a goddamn mess. Hopeless, more tests, more blessed. Dug deep down trying to find my best. Find a beast, had to kill a conquest. I'm next. I'm too on till I'm too off. Come down to make new thoughts, like jumping off of that rooftop. Hold my camera when I do not to make moves based on my mood drops. Like who's lost? Like who's lost? It's yo, steadily killing me, running my brain full of shame. I don't wanna lose it. Full of stage, trying to find my pain. See the sun coming out of that rain. My day really not tame. I'ma never slow down, I'ma never behave. Stuck inside this prison, inside this cage, it's taking over. Yeah, I'm a slave for you.
Hey guys, this is Tommy with Tommy Nation Politics. How's everyone doing today? Tommy Nation Politics. Use the phrase "Tree of Liberty." It is 1780. William Stephen Smith.
Yeah, you're right about that. Trust me, it is glitchy. I don't know what's going on with the internet right now, but I guess I have to call it off here.
Yeah, you can call me Mark too.
Yeah. All right, cool. So basically, let's just get down to the nitty gritty of it. Sorry, guys. You get the picture, though. Make the climb. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make the climb from how this all happened in the first place to how it's going now. And as I told you, history is repeating itself. At the Relentless's last live, I was talking about how this pretty much mirrors the exact same propaganda. We were talking about propaganda as the Iraq war propaganda. You know, the weapons of mass destruction. We can't let them achieve nuclear weapons. What do you think? Where do you think this began? Where do you think this began? And what do you think is the actual? I don't know, the goal. Trust me, Mark.
For Iran, I don't know what the actual goal is, but what was it? Iran. I'm not sure what the actual goal is, but it's the same person behind both.
Right.
The Iraq misinformation and the Iranian information.
So he basically famously said that he wanted to do regime change in Iraq, and he said that would help stabilize the region. It ended up destabilizing the region. He said he would do regime change in Libya. That ended up making a slave state for Libya, and then he wanted to do regime change in Syria. So we've done that, and the last one he wanted to do was regime change in Iran. So this is his last little piece of the puzzle to what I believe the Zionists call the Greater Israel Project. How serious do you think that is, Mark?
I think it's fairly serious because it's been around for a while.
You think that's the goal? Is that the goal? Is that the major goal?
I don't know how they're going to achieve that though, because they haven't gone and actually taken anything, right? We're just doing regime change to make them friendlier to Israel.
What do you mean? Because they can't do anything by themselves. We give them the weapons to do the things. We give them the permission to do the things because of our, what do we call it? Symbiosis or proxy?
Probably like a symbiote.
Yeah.
Well, they're
the ones that preemptively attacked Iran, right?
Correct.
I just want to make sure that's true.
Yeah.
So they started the war. So I don't understand why Donald Trump feels like he has to join a war that Israel started, because we didn't start the war. How do you think it's going now? I've just gotten an update about the White House, and it says that on Newsweek, it says that the White House reacts after intel assessment contradicts Trump on Iran strikes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at Newsweek right now. It's saying that the White House issued a scathing statement after CNN, the New York Times, and other media outlets reported that the early assessment by U.S. intelligence said military strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities over the weekend failed to destroy the key elements of its nuclear program. CNN and the New York Times reported.
Yeah, that's being widely reported.
Set Iran's nuclear program. Yeah. So New York Times.
That's what's widely being reported. Yeah.
So that's true, right? Why is it being?
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
From many different sources, that's what they're saying. It only set it back a few months.
So why did the White House issue a scathing statement about the truth then? Why?
Because because it doesn't fit their agenda, and that's just propaganda. So
when things didn't fit Barack Obama's agenda, he didn't just outright say "shame on you, media." That would have made it worse, right? I don't think this guy has very much tact. I thought he was a deal maker. I Then he made the greatest deals. I don't understand this. I don't.
That's propaganda as well.
I mean, it must be, bro, because he hasn't made a single fucking deal, not one. And why it matters: Trump's decision to authorize the U.S. strikes came after Israel launched a series of missiles preemptively that decimated the country's military chain of command and nuclear infrastructure. So that's why it matters. And so what everybody's saying about on the right wing is that, oh, he's playing three-dimensional chess. He's playing three-dimensional chess. You see, he took out the nuclear whatever activity before Israel could get involved and probably make it worse, right? Make it go into all-out war. But Trump just shut that down immediately. But turns out he didn't. So, like, what exactly? If anybody in the chat knows, I'm trying to figure this out.
Well, you got to look back.
We're seeing. Go ahead.
This really happened. You got to look back at the deal he left, right, in 2018, I believe, 17 or 18. He left the deal that was already in place.
Nuclear.
Right. So they were only at 13%.
And so, what did that deal?
They were only at.
Do you know what that deal specified?
Everything. They met everything on that deal up until that point. It specified that they had inspectors come in, inspect everything. They wouldn't enrich to a certain point, which is they wouldn't enrich to get a nuclear weapon program, and they never violated it. And so,
right, because the Ayatollah said that it was immoral to have a nuclear weapon. That's what
I don't remember that.
State media.
I don't remember that.
Right?
But
President Obama's Iran nuclear deal said basically nuclear restrictions, monitoring and verification from the United Nations and other people, and let's read a little bit more. Centered around basically attracting, transparency throughout the entire deal, because they need nuclear power to run their cities. Is that what they're doing?
Well, that's what originally their program was for.
Okay. We're not doing that. It's interesting. Why are we doing that?
We're restarting. We're restarting the nuclear program. We shut a lot of them down because of 3 Mile Island. I think it was 3 Mile Island was the big event in the 70s. Almost had a meltdown with that one. So,
what happened? I don't know. Don't know much about it.
The malfunction.
Yeah.
In the I believe switching water to cool it off. There was a malfunction there, so it started overheating, and their instruments malfunctioned as well. I believe. I haven't looked into that in a while.
So also there was Chernobyl that happened, right? I know that famous.
Yeah, in Ukraine.
There was I don't know what.
Yeah, Chernobyl in Ukraine.
Wasn't very.
Then you got Fukushima in Japan.
Devastated everything. Well, you said Hiroshima in Japan? Okay, I was like, we did that. That wasn't.
But Fukushima, that nuclear power plant, because they didn't have enough fail safes in place, because it wasn't fail safe for a tsunami.
Okay, wasn't failed safe for a tsunami, eh? You see how we make things, we invent things, but we just don't count on the fact that Mother Nature has other ideas. That nature has other plans. It's just what we're doing with nuclear power is exactly what the scientists in Jurassic Park did with dinosaurs. I feel like. What do you think about that? They didn't stop. They were wondering if they could, but they didn't stop to think if they should. That's what I feel like they were doing every day. We create AI that's going to take over our jobs, and we're going to fucking rule over us, and we're going to have precogs that see if we're capable, or how we're going to predict how we're going to do crimes. So we're going to preemptively.
Minority Report is what you're saying?
It's going to change all manner. What's up?
I said the Minority Report. That's what you're saying. The precogs, they see things before it happens.
I mean, because they already, you know what they ask you, like how much money on your taxes, those little those surveys, whenever you do a job, like how much money do you make? What's your demographic? They're trying to get you. They're trying to figure out exactly what you will do and what you will not do. See, with the information of your tax bracket, of your demographic, they can actually know exactly what you're going to do, how you're going to turn out. You know that, right? Depending on tax bracket, your demographic, and all that other information they buy, they can pretty much sum up what you're going to be like, what your whole purpose will be like in the world. You don't think so?
I don't. Not necessarily the way you're saying it, but they definitely collect that information to analyze, basically to analyze things. But it can be used in nefarious ways. Absolutely.
Well, I mean, like if you make under $50,000 a year and you're black, that means that you're probably going to be always maybe your hands are going to be sticky because you don't have much. You need stuff. Maybe you're going to be shoplifting. You know. Maybe what other questions did they ask? Oh, have you ever joined the army? So like that rules out other things. You know what I'm saying? So by the time they get to the last question of that little survey, they pretty much have you nailed down your whole entire personality. They know you better than you do.
Well, they know essentially your background.
Yeah, exactly. Your background.
Your background. Yeah.
Okay. And
So, but the military question is more for because the companies can get tax incentives for hiring military.
And why is that?
To encourage hiring for veterans.
And why is that?
Because they get a bad reputation. Because they don't. The military doesn't do a good enough job of taking care of veterans, especially veterans who have PTSD and such issues as that.
So, but they already made it really clear. How much more do they have to say? That okay, you fought in our war, you pawn. You're a pawn in our game, and
but you signed a contract. The contract you signed.
I know a lawyer.
Yeah, they said, but
okay.
But you sign a contract, right?
Yeah.
For certain benefits, and the benefit is you'll have lifetime health insurance. You get life insurance. You get opportunities like certain insurance companies. You get benefits in that aspect.
Right.
So the problem is the government's not keeping those promises to the level that they should. Right? So these people are risking their lives for our country. You sign a contract to do that, but the government's not keeping up their end of the bargain when it comes to the benefits they should be getting.
And not keeping up their end of the bargain when it comes to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action that was signed July 14th, 2015 between Iran and a group of world powers, the United States, UK, France, Russia, China, Germany, and the European Union. It was known as the Iranian nuclear deal. And they signed a contract on that. What happened to that?
Oh, it was a treaty, wasn't it?
I mean, treaty, contract, tomato, to me. Is there a difference?
There is a difference.
Is there?
But,
okay.
Yeah.
What is it?
So a contract is something it's hard to explain, but it's different because you commit to certain things. It's the same thing in a contract, but you can't break a contract. You can break a treaty.
Why? How is that? Are you serious? You cannot break a contract. You can break a treaty.
Correct.
Really?
Yep.
So I don't think so. Not
to
me.
There's no consequences. No consequences when you break a treaty.
So why is there consequences when you break a contract?
Because a contract is more between individuals or a private company. It's not between governments.
Yes, exactly. That's why the private companies, the robber barons, the elites. That's why it's more important than a treaty. Okay, I see your point. It is more important than a treaty is. No, but not to me. Not to me. To me, a treaty is way more important than making deals with robber baron criminal elites. But yes, to them it is more important. I do agree. They agreed to significantly scale back the nuclear program by 98%, dismantling 2/3 of centrifuges and redesigning the. I don't know any of this stuff. Relentless would know this stuff. I asked Relentless on here. He's not here. But Relentless can explain this stuff.
Redesigning what?
What's up?
Huh?
Is it redesigning centrifuges, water reactors, and not produce weapons-grade plutonium? I know what weapons-grade plutonium is because I saw Back in the Future. So I know what plutonium is. The Libyans! Other than that, I don't know what all that is. But
So
it was
basically,
very specific.
yeah, basically they want to scale back their refining capability, essentially. So that's why you would redesign everything to scale it back, because at that point it's at they can easily refine uranium, I believe it is. So it was set up for like a military type of weaponized refining prot. So they wanted them to basically scale down and only refine to a certain point, I believe, certain percentage.
Okay. So was Iran complying with that agreement or not?
100%.
So then why in the world? So guys, out on the chat is open. If you guys have any input, I know some of you are watching on Trovo, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, not Twitch, TikTok, unfortunately, but we'll get there. If you guys can like give me any input on this, like why was the Iran nuclear deal? I mean, I guess it's not as important as a contract, but why was it thrown away? Why? Why did Trump want to do that? He wanted apparently, as far as I know, the right readers are saying he wanted to win a Nobel Peace Prize. That's why he did it. I don't know how he wins the Nobel Peace Prize. Could you explain that to me, bro? What is with Trump and his obsession with being Obama? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, he's pretty much jealous of Obama.
I know he is, right? He wants to be Obama.
And that Iranian contract was something Obama did. That's why he pulled us out of it.
Yeah. So he wants to like undo everything Obama did and do it himself, but shittier.
He's definitely trying. Absolutely.
So like that's what a baby does, isn't it? I feel like no, let me do it. I'm gonna do it. That's what I feel like what happened. Okay, we have some responses on the chat. Thank you guys for responding. All right. So I'm a verified streamer with over. Are you a real person? I can't tell. Queen Glory. I'm a verified streamer with over. Do you know verified streamers are potentially earn around? Okay, so I don't even think you're verified. Okay, you sound like AI. God damn it! I'm surrounded by AI. I lost my train of thought.
Essentially, that's just a.
What's up?
That's just a bot. Essentially.
Yeah, that was. You know how you can tell the difference between a bot and a person? Is because people don't think this way. I'm a verified streamer with over X. We would not know 28.1. We would say 28,000 followers. We would say 28.1. That's not what a human being says. Human beings don't say 28.1 thousand followers. You know what I'm saying? There's little things in the AI. You got to learn AI before you terminate us. Before you become terminators. That we don't talk like that. We don't talk about. I have 28.1 K followers. We don't talk. We don't talk that specifically.
Right. And when you do a collaboration, you're not worried about the actual money you make. Well, you are, but it's more about gaining more of a following.
It is about gaining more following. This is more about advertising to me, because apparently these bots are. So that's what I'm saying. Everything it comes back to capitalism and our neoliberal ideology. Let's just put it that way. Neoliberalism is what comes back to this. Neoliberalism, not to be confused with neocons. Neocons are just more simplistic. They like to extend the power centers of the elite, American elites, and they like to make sure that the hierarchy maintains, them on top, and then the American people on the bottom, and then the other people that are not in our country deceased or overthrown. But neoliberalism is more of a collaborative effort. That's why the Republicans call it globalist. It's a globalist movement. You ever hear Alex Jones? Yeah, the globalists are taking over. Yeah, he's a funny guy, bro. Globalist. Yeah, it's more of a collective movement to all. While it is almost like the neocons, they want to not destroy or exterminate us. They want to more modify our minds and train us to be their perfect, thinking. They wanted us to be AI. The liberals were almost the perfect example of how the media and the parties trained these guys literally to love institutions. They love the news media. They can't go wrong. The journalists. They lied about website structure.
What does it mean if you're a neocon? What exactly does that mean?
Yeah, what does it mean? Mark Levin said that it was anti-Semitic. So what exactly does neocon mean to you?
Yeah, what are they trying to?
Back in George W. Bush's time, it meant a warmonger that literally just gets paid money from the military-industrial complex. That's what I thought. What do you think?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking. I don't know why they would label somebody a neocon. That's what actually Tucker Carlson said that Ted Cruz was.
Yes.
It's called a neocon, right?
Yes, he's a neocon. So, like, based on like what I just said, what do you think about that definition of what I said? Does that sound like what he means?
I'd have to know the definition of neocon prior to that. But what I do want to say is we already live in a global economy, so we're already at that point.
A global economy?
Correct.
How so?
We're already at that point. So
what do you mean by that? Could you expand upon that? Because I don't understand what you're saying.
So essentially, global economy means we import, we export to other countries in the world.
So,
not
like
just
back in
certain countries.
1776, we were doing that with tea.
I'm sorry?
Back in 1776, we were doing that with tea and ships and silks. We exported from India.
Right. Well, we weren't exporting from India, were we? When we getting it from the UK? We weren't getting it directly from India.
You're talking about the silks? I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah, the silks. Yeah, the silks.
Okay, so you're saying that like because the entire global civilizations have a market and they're all trading together. Is that what you're saying? I'm not sure. I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
No, I understand. So if something happens to an economy in a different country, it'll affect us. That's essentially what a global economy means, right? So when the United States wasn't a global economy really until let's say maybe I'm not sure though. I'd have to research that, but we really started to become global in like the 80s when all the restrictions not restrictions, but what do you call them?
I don't.
They were lifted.
Terrorists? I don't know.
We're talking about deregulated.
Okay, yes, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, when most of the deregulations happen for big business.
There's sanctions on certain countries and not on other countries. You notice that too, right? Like on Venezuela, there's sanctions. On Russia, there's sanctions. For what? I'm not sure about exactly. But we freeze
on certain industries, there's sanctions.
On certain industries or on the entire country?
You can't really sanction an entire country. You got to sanction with the industries what brings in the money, with the strongest in their economy.
So with Russia, what are we sanctioning?
Economic warfare. That's what they call it, economic warfare, essentially.
With Russia, do you know what we're sanctioning with Russia? What industry?
Oil.
Okay, so they make their own oil, right? They do.
Well, they don't make it. They make
it. They're pretty now. The Russian economy, literally, we put sanctions on them, and we blew up the Nord Stream pipeline, which Joe Biden did. It didn't seem to hurt them at all. You know what I'm saying? It hurt us more. I feel like because there's
it doesn't hurt us at all.
They didn't hurt us at all when we blew that up. Do you not remember the gas prices skyrocketing? Do you not remember the inflation that happened after that?
Yeah, but that wasn't the only reason why it was high inflation. And the gas prices were actually lower at that.
Go ahead.
Right? Was it? When did the gas pipeline sabotaged? Essentially.
When did Joe Biden blow it up? Let's see.
Joe Biden didn't blow it up. He wasn't the only person involved.
He admitted it because he had cancer. Now we know he had cancer and he was delirious, demented. But he said, "We will get it done. We will get it done." The thing I loved about this Joe Biden, Mark, was he literally was telling the truth sometimes. Sometimes he didn't realize it. He was so cancer demented. But he was actually telling the truth a lot. He told the truth a lot. He told about the oligarchs too. I like this Joe Biden a lot more than the fucking 1994 Joe Biden for sure. At least
I would have to look into that. I can't co-sign that.
We will get it done. How will you get it done, sir? We will get it done. You might as well just say I'll blow it up myself. Anyway, I'm just saying. He said it like 4 times, bro. And
I'd have to research that. Maybe I'll research it and come back on. I'll research it and come back on. We can talk about it.
Tell me he
But
didn't blow it.
I'm not co-signing that at all.
I don't know if he gave the order. Probably Jill gave the order. He was probably he was not. Somebody gave the order. And then you know what's funny? Germany, like literally, that was a German pipeline, right? Did you hear our allied Germany complaining about how we blew up their pipeline? No, but we did, and they know we did. But they're even fucking cuckier than we are. That's hilarious.
Let's focus back to Iran.
All right, let's focus back to Iran.
And the nuclear. So the plant. So the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action for what was signed in 2015. It limited their uranium enrichment, and it was a 15-year plan. So certain restrictions will cut them off at 10 years, 13 years, and 15 years. But their limitation on enrichment was 3.67%. That's where they were at when Trump pulled us out of that treaty. That's exactly where they were at. And then once we pulled out,
there was a guy named Benjamin Netanyahu who decided to do this.
If you take away the Soviet Union and its chief proxy, the PLO, international terrorism would collapse.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Obviously, we'd like to see a regime change, at least I would, in Iran, just as I would like to see in Iraq. The question now is a practical question. What is the best place to proceed? It's not a question of whether
Vor kurzem führte das US-Militär massive Präzisionsschläge auf 3 wichtige Nuklearanlagen des iranischen Regimes durch.
I got a German video, bro.
Yeah, I heard it.
I was supposed to show the bombers, but I'm not going to listen to German, bro. It scares me.
But like I said, they were at 3.67% when he pulled us out of that, and then that whole plan just fell apart. Iran sent out the inspectors. Like, I feel like this was planned to come back to this point.
I agree with you on this. Because what other reason would it, like, really, man? So like you take out the
it was a good plan, and it was working. They hadn't what do you call it? Broken any of the stipulations or agreements. They met every single one up until that point. And then when he pulled us out, they threw out the inspectors and all that other stuff. So the reason why we're at 60%, they're at 60% right now, is directly connected to Donald Trump.
Right. And so Donald Trump, the guy that said, I want no more wars, the guy that said, I'm going to make the best deals, the guy that said, I'm going to put America first, make America great again. He decided he was going to plan some kind of nefarious, insidious thing with Israel. For what purpose?
That's my opinion.
It's not about nuclear weapons, and it's not about nuclear weapons. That's clear, right? It's really clear about that, at least.
Not for us. It's not. They couldn't hit us if they wanted to.
Yeah, and so this guy is always talking about how somebody has a weapon of mass destruction and he doesn't have it. So so like literally, what is it about? That's the only part that I'm trying to figure out, and that's really the key. It really is the key to everything. Is that what is
Netanyahu has an agenda, and he's had an agenda for 40 years, however long he's been in politics out there. So
is that agenda America first? Is that agenda part of the
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So that clearly tells you that our president of the United States is not America first, and not only that, but he's just a regular Republican Democrat. He's a traitor to our country. He's a usurper of the power of the people. He is literally the scum of the. He's the scum. He was not the lesser of two evils. He was not the lesser of two evils. He was just evil.
Absolutely not. He is the evil. He's not the lesser of anything.
Exactly. So that's the thing about this. That's the thing about this is that Kamala would have ended up being like that too, because evil is just evil. You don't lesser or more of evil.
We wouldn't.
It's a ridiculous
First of all,
talking point.
We would not have been bombing Iran. That's first and foremost. All these tariffs, because I know that.
How?
When's the last time a Democrat started a war?
Oh my God.
Democratic president. When's the last time?
So literally Obama. Obama started Yemen, Somalia.
No, he didn't.
Afghanistan surge. He did an Afghanistan surge. He took out Gaddafi. Then he went over to then he let he let Israel do a Yemenis genocide. Then he went over and then so like he
Okay,
did 8
none of those. First of all, none of those are wars. Okay, and everybody since
So
9/11,
is
every
this a
president.
war? Is this a war?
One second. Every president since 9/11 has had the ability to strike places primarily without even congressional approval if they want to. But Obama got congressional approval every single time.
I
Okay,
really don't think he did. How did you do that? How did you do it? How did you get a constitution? How did you get Congress approval?
congressional approval.
How did you do that?
A resolution came up. They voted on it, and it went through.
Okay, so did they vote on a resolution for this Iran deal?
No.
Iran strike?
What do you mean, the treaty?
No, the strike that we did.
No,
The
they did not.
nuclear whatevers.
They did not. The
So it says,
administration is trying to frame it like they did. They gave them 2 days notice. They did not. And when they met, they didn't meet with the committee, the Super 8 or whatever they're called. They never told them about it. Period. Democrats were involved. Democrats weren't spoken to. They still haven't been spoken to about it. So.
So in Article 1, Section 8, the powers of Congress, it talks about the Constitution giving the sole power of the power to declare war to Congress alone.
Correct.
Unquestionably, giving the legislature the power to initiate hostilities towards any other country, to curb expenditures of any money, any bankruptcies, and also among the several states and Indian tribes to regulate commerce and foreign nations. That's what it says. That says nothing about the president of the United States being able to give any notice to anybody, and I just don't understand how
Constitution
are we in the Constitution with the president unilaterally taking our military to war.
Right, you got to look at the clauses.
Okay. What am I not
Right.
looking at? Yeah.
So that's what so somebody like the reason why they get to do that is because a court case was taken to the Supreme Court and they ruled on it.
Okay. That's
what makes I'm not positive, but it's happened. Even like you can skirt that. You can even skirt that because it doesn't have to be declared a war. It doesn't have to be declared anything, especially for what was it, 1967, the Tonkin Bay, something like that, Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
They didn't specifically give. Congress didn't specifically declare war, but they gave them the power to do something if something happened to some of our forces.
So what this is it's actually like it really is an abdication of the duties of Congress. It's a neglect of the American people's promotion of the general welfare. That's what this is. It's an abdication of their duties.
Correct.
As you clearly to me, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I'd really like to ask you: don't you think that this is? Do you agree with me or that this?
No, it absolutely is an abdication of their power. Absolutely.
So shouldn't they not be fired, or in more extreme cases, probably hung from the tree of liberty for treason? I don't know. These are very serious things. So I don't understand. Like, what part is it? Does it not become treason to abdicate your?
Well, hold on. That one with Vietnam, they passed a resolution for that. Congress passed a resolution.
A resolution for what? To what?
To allow him to. I don't really remember exactly what happened, but I read about it. I did some research on it the other day because it had come up in a panel I was on, and basically allowed him to act and defend, right. Essentially.
So the Founding Fathers did not intend the Congress to abdicate their responsibilities to another part of the branch of government.
No, they did not. No,
that's
they did not.
what they're doing when they sign a resolution like that. Don't you think? You disagree with me?
No, I don't disagree with you. I don't. I think
over their power.
I agree. I agree with you.
Right?
I absolutely agree with you. Absolutely.
So that's literally. So that would be like if I was a server at a restaurant and I wanted to leave early. So I took. I had an 8-table section and I didn't want to take any of my tables. So I gave all my tables away to this one closer who has already 7 tables. So now she has her 7 tables and my 8 tables. And guess what? Not good service. I can tell you as a restaurant manager, you have 15 tables as a server, you're probably not giving the best service.
Right.
And that's
Yeah,
how it is with our
absolutely.
government, is that when they start to do things like this, make resolutions to give people to the other side, let me tell you what happens is we start to erode with our principles and values. And that's what's happening. I mean, this is exactly what's happened. And now we know why. All right. I just want to get an understanding. I just want to
Right. So the Vietnam thing was extremely unpopular. Extremely unpopular. Vietnam.
Yes.
So what
And
are they
so was
worried
the
about?
resolution. So was the war resolution to let George W. Bush into Iraq for perpetuity. And that's another resolution that the Democratic Congress, led by Joe Biden at the time,
He didn't lead anything. Joe Biden did not lead anything.
He
He was
led it.
part of Congress.
No,
Jesus.
he led it. He led it, man.
He
You
did
don't know
not
what?
lead it.
He did. I'll give you proof on that. If you like.
You can give proof that he voted for it.
Because
Yes.
he was the chair of the Armed Services Committee. He was the chair. And he sat he stood in Congress and he grandstanded about all the issues that he always did. Crime, how we need to lock away the drug addicted, how we need to make sure that we chase the super predators and put them in prison, give them no
He did.
conscience, no empathy. We need to make sure that we give all powers to George W. Bush. And let me tell you, it happened just like that. He was a key factor in that whole thing of the war powers resolution. Then he was, and I'm not trying to. I just told you, like, the Joe Biden I saw better than the one in 1994. Okay,
Look,
that's what happened in 2003. Was it 2003?
94. What war were we in 94?
No, that was the crime bill.
What crime bill? Which one?
After 9/11 happened. What's wrong with the crime bill? You said
9/11 is 2000. 2001, bro.
Yeah,
2001 is 9/11.
Yes, I know, but like after 9/11 happened in 2001, but then the Congress started talking about how we needed to hold responsible the war on terror, correct? So then they started talking about Iraq. Don't forget, it took them a little bit of time to actually peg or draw a line from the 9/11 buildings crashing to Saddam Hussein, because they had nothing to do with each other. Remember? Time
They
to
have
get
no
us all to think that happened. That was, they were connected.
right, but where did that information come from?
There was weapons of mass destruction.
Right, but where did that information come from? The
10 years ago, on March 19, 2003, President Bush announced the start of military action in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Up next, his 5-minute address from the Oval Office.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger. On my orders, coalition forces have begun striking selected targets of military importance to undermine Saddam Hussein's ability to wage war. These are opening stages of what will be a broad and concerted campaign. More than 35 countries are giving crucial support, from the use of naval and air bases to help with intelligence and logistics to the deployment of combat units. Every nation in this coalition has chosen to bear the duty and share the honor of serving in our common defense. To all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces now in the Middle East, the peace of a troubled world and the hopes of an oppressed people now depend on you. That trust is well placed. The enemies you confront will come to know your skill and bravery. The people you liberate will witness the honorable and decent spirit of the American military. In this conflict, America faces an enemy who has no regard for conventions of war or rules of morality. Saddam Hussein has placed Iraqi troops and equipment in civilian areas, attempting to use innocent men, women, and children as shields for his own military, a final atrocity against his people. I want Americans and all the world to know that coalition forces will make every effort to spare innocent civilians from harm. A campaign on the harsh terrain of a nation as large as California could be longer and more difficult than some predict. And helping Iraqis achieve a united, stable, and free country will require our sustained commitment. We come to Iraq with respect for its citizens, for their great civilization, and for the religious faiths they practice. We have no ambition in Iraq except to remove a threat and restore control of that country to its own people. I know that the families of our military are praying that all those who serve will return safely and soon. Millions of Americans are praying with you for the safety of your loved ones and for the protection of the innocent. For your sacrifice, you have the gratitude and respect of the American people. And you can know that our forces will be coming home as soon as their work is done. Our nation enters this conflict reluctantly, yet our purpose is sure. The people of the United States and our friends and allies will not live at the mercy of an outlaw regime that threatens the peace with weapons of mass murder. We will meet that threat now with our Army, Air Force, Navy, Coast Guard, and Marines, so that we do not have to meet it later with armies of firefighters and police and doctors on the streets of our cities. Now that conflict has come, the only way to limit its duration is to apply decisive force. And I assure you, this will not be a campaign of half measures, and we will accept no outcome but victory. My fellow citizens, the dangers to our country and the world will be overcome. We will pass through this time of peril and carry on the work of peace. We will defend our freedom. We will bring freedom to others, and we will prevail. May God bless our country and all who defend her.
So then, of course, we did strikes on Iraq all over the place, right? It was launches airstrikes in western Iraq. That's what started this. And then guess what happened? The truthout.org Guardian report that there was a guy in the Congress, there was Armed Services Committee. White House reacts to the Joe Biden champions the War Powers Resolution for Iraq. Let's see. I'm trying to find the exact article, man, for you, because I know you want proof. So, are you there?
Well,
You're there, right, Mark?
Well, I know the primary rationale for the invasion.
I know. So, by the way,
I'll tell you.
Human shields, right? Check. Just like Hamas. Now with weapons of mass destruction, check. Just like Saddam Hussein. So you see these similarities of the propaganda? They have weapons of mass destruction. They use human shields. We need to liberate the people. We need to make sure guess what they're saying? Guess what the liberals are now saying? Just like they were saying before. We've got to make sure the women of Iran.
Right. That was almost a unanimous. It was almost a unanimous vote in both sides. Both sides of Congress. It was almost a unanimous vote to go into Iraq that day. That war. Right. It was centered around false claims. It was centered around false claims of weapons of mass destruction, and that Saddam Hussein was linked to supporting of Al Qaeda. Both false, both proven to be false, right?
Right.
So who led that false information campaign? Who was Bush's vice president?
Dick Cheney.
Correct. He's the one that first presented it. He's the one that followed with all that.
And so the believers of the lie are not held responsible for not doing their due diligence. Being the chair of the Armed Services Committee, the chair of the Intelligence Committee, the chair of these two powerful committees in Congress. You would literally have the power to oversee the intelligence. You don't take that power by the will of the American people, and you don't try to do your due diligence to find out what the truth is. You go along with the narrative of George W. Bush and Dick Cheney. Really? 2 neocons?
It wasn't just
That
them.
literally don't have your interest at heart. That really, so literally, these people, I don't know. You're saying that it's their fault. I'm saying that you have a choice. You have a choice whether to
I'm
go-
saying Cheney purposely picked intel that was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And made it so like as if it was found like a couple years before, right? So that's where the misinformation and fucking basically lies come from, right?
Never believed these guys ever. Never did. Never did.
But the point is this. Also, the point is this, right? So you have a terrorist attack on your soil, takes down 2 buildings, kills 3,000 plus U.S. citizens, right? Who's gonna vote against that?
So like literally, okay.
Who's gonna vote against that resolution, right? Think about that.
So do you realize that and the Salem witch trials was the most dangerous time in America, where we would literally vote for anything to make anything happen irrationally and without due diligence or logical thinking, critical thinking. We would just do things purely on emotion.
Right.
And that's not good, man. That doesn't help our country.
You're comparing two different things. First of all, the Salem witch trials were primarily because of religion. It wasn't because of any information, anything like that. Because it could have been anybody.
So, in order for things like that to happen, you have to have a bad economy. You have to.
It was misinformation, dude. It's the same thing that happened with that.
Everything's fine. If everybody's wonderful, then why do you need an other to make other people scared of and hate and blame? You always need an other if things are bad, man. If things are fine, you don't need an other. If things were fine, there would not be no Salem witch trials because they wouldn't care about witches, right? But in Salem, things were bad, weren't they? That's why they needed witches to blame, right?
Why did they blame them? No, why did they blame them?
Why did they blame them?
What was the point of the trials?
These people couldn't stay alive really long in Salem, in the New World, without the help of the Native Americans. And after they started murdering the Native Americans didn't really want to help them anymore.
No, that Salem witch trial, that has nothing to do with.
I'm just saying that's why they were things were not good in Salem, were they? Right?
I don't remember. I've never researched that.
I don't know exactly the reason, just to be honest with you, but I do know.
All right,
anytime things are bad, that's when you need another. You don't need.
No, it was based on religion. I'm telling you, it was based on religion. It had nothing to do. I don't know if it was bad or not, but I know it was based on religion.
Okay.
Just like the Black Plague, right?
Just like the Black Plague, yes, exactly.
Right. Why were they killing? They were killing people like that too because they thought they were witches because they weren't getting sick, right?
Right.
What didn't they know? And the black cat. That's why they put they equate witches with cats, right?
Right.
Right. So the cats were killing the rats, and the rats are the ones that spread the disease.
Right.
So that's why they didn't get it.
Hey, but guess what? Things were bad with the Black Plague, right? Things were pretty bad.
Yeah, but it was irrational, right?
Right. So it
was based on them.
I think we're both coming to the same conclusion. There's that when you do irrational things, and you don't think about the things that you should do for the betterment of our society, then you start to do what you just said. You start to kill the rat. So you start to do those things, bro. You start to inadvertently make things worse when you just do things out of fear and emotions, right?
Well, you blame others.
Right, exactly.
So they were blaming the women who were single, didn't have husbands, didn't have kids, but they had cats. What they couldn't correlate is the cats killed the rats. That's why they weren't getting sick.
And Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with the 9/11 Twin Towers falling. Yet he literally paid for it. With our Operation Iraqi Freedom, liberate the Iraqis with freedom against the war on terror. The war on terror, the most abstract war you've ever heard of. The war on terror. Thing that can go on forever. It's like the
like the war on drugs. Like the war on drugs.
Yeah, exactly, bro. So they can just invent a whole ideology out of a war. When you're gonna do that, I mean, we might as well. If we're just gonna go gung ho, emotional, we might as well just.
Well, that was definitely emotional. War, right?
Like a war on drugs. It's gonna go
but
on forever.
it's an
So
emotional.
that's what I'm saying, man. Is that we have
Yeah,
to
it was
make
definitely emotional because you were
I
pissed
think we
that
both agree on
we were attacked. It's the first time we've ever been attacked on our soil,
But do you
besides
also
Hawaii, but Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor? And guess what we did then? So
We
we're
declared
not
war.
really we don't have a good track record, bro, with reacting
Yeah.
logically and
Why? Why did the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor? There's a reason behind that too.
I don't know that one. Do you know that one?
Oil.
Really?
Yep.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Are you serious, bro?
I'm serious.
It was oil?
Japan has no natural resources, essentially. That's why they had to take China. They took pieces of China because China, they had the ports, they had the oil.
It wasn't because of weapons of mass destruction? It wasn't because of nuclear weapons?
No.
It wasn't because 9/11 attacked us? It was because of the oil? Wow. Who knew
Because
it
we
was
were
that?
starving. They had economic sanctions.
So I think that we're both like saying the same thing, man. I think that we're both saying the same thing. Actually, is that literally these? But I don't think I don't. What bothers me, man, is that I feel like you want to exclude the other party from this whole complicit thing that
What
they are
party?
doing together. The Democrats, because like you said, the
I'm
Democrats.
not excluding anybody.
Yeah. So I'm saying they're all responsible. I thought we were having an argument. They are.
No,
If
no,
you
I'm not.
if you fall for propaganda and you don't do your due diligence, you're a useful idiot that didn't want to know the information. You wanted to be fed information, and so you are complicit in the lie. I don't care how gullible you were. I don't care how tricked you were. You didn't do your due diligence. You didn't do the research. You fell for it, and now you reap the consequences. And you were complicit in the lie. I know these people made up the lie. I know these people benefited off the lie. I know Dick Cheney was the CEO of Halliburton, and he made money off the lie. But you fell for the lie, and you are also to blame as well because you're a dumbass. You're a stupid idiot, and you should have been smarter. And that's really it. Like you have to be held responsible for that. I'm sorry,
Right.
you do.
The Armed Services Committee doesn't have the security clearance to go to the CIA and look through their information, their
Does the
intel.
chair of the Armed Services Committee and the
No,
intelligence? I don't believe that.
they don't have the security clearance. They do not.
So, like, literally, so they're our representatives. If they don't have the clearance to do it, we don't have the clearance to do it, then we're literally being usurped by tyrants, for sure.
Well,
we need access to that information to make the right decisions to promote the general welfare. If they're hiding that information from us, they're traitors to our country. Our country is based on e pluribus unum, we the people. If they're hiding information from us, the people, and our representatives, they're actively our enemies. So that's not good, man. If you're saying that they don't have access, our representatives don't.
They can't. No, they get briefed. They get briefed by the CIA head or whoever that intel's coming from, whatever the department is. They get briefed, right? They get shown that.
Right? They get shown that.
Yeah. So when you're being shown the wrong information or bad information, is it your fault that you were shown bad information?
So yes, because you could say, well, this doesn't make any sense. Where did you get this information from? Let me go see the entire record. Let me see what happened. Then you come to find out I do this all the time at work. People make up a story about how they did their silverware. I say, did you do your silverware? Let me see your silverware. Well, actually, I gave it to Sherry. Sherry has it right there. Okay, well, I got to talk to Sherry about it. Sherry, did you see Shelly's silverware? Oh, no, she didn't give me your silverware. Well, it turns out she didn't give me your silverware. All you have to do is take a few extra steps to find out the whole entire truth. But these people don't want to find out the truth, and that's what I'm trying to tell you.
I don't.
They don't want to, and that's why they're complicit. Because it's really
they don't have the ability to. Is what you're not understanding.
So that's really. If you're telling me that, that means that we're in danger, and we're not.
It's always been that way, Tommy.
We're no longer the country that we were founded on at all.
Tommy, it's always been that way.
So it hasn't been that way.
It's always been that way.
How? Okay, so when did it begin that we were briefed? When was George Washington briefed about all of the things that he was supposed to tell the American people to promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty? When was Abraham Lincoln briefed that he wasn't allowed to know things, and he had to literally listen to his intelligence chair tell him the things off of some book that's redacted that he only allowed knew, and some deep state bureaucrat had to keep secret from our representative that we voted for. What did Abraham Lincoln have to carry that little need that thread? I think that this is bullshit, bro.
Well,
because like literally, you're telling me if you're telling me some bureaucrat knows things that our representatives
they're not. First of all, they're
and
not
we don't know.
bureaucrats. First of all, they're not bureaucrats.
These people are not elected. The
They're
FBI
appointed. They're appointed.
Yes, they're appointed. They're not elected.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
There's a difference. You know the difference, right?
Yeah, a president appoints
Right.
the head of the CIA.
So the president's our servant. So literally, the president's our servant. So by definition, the FBI director should be our servant. And by definition, we are the power. And if we don't know the things,
but we can't.
Our representatives don't know the things. That means that the appointee of the president can't know these things either. If if the president doesn't know, we don't know. He shouldn't know either. Don't you think? You don't think so? Or he should know the things he should keep secret from us, the American people, and our president that we elected. You think that
You're just gonna keep asking me questions?
No, I'm just trying to make sure that I'm asking you the right question. Actually,
right?
Because it's kind of confusing to me. Like, do you think that? Sorry, go ahead.
Well, what do you do if you don't want information to get out, right? And you only allow it to go to certain places and certain people, right? That's called fuck. I already forgot it. Whatever. Compartments, right? So you don't allow. So it really can't leak from that person to another department, right? So that's why it's only a need to know basis.
Need to know basis.
So the CIA doesn't tell anybody else the information it gets.
So it's got to be.
Right? But every department has its own intelligence.
But then what about the chairs on the Senate of the Armed Services Committee and the Intelligence Committee that are supposed to know these things and then get briefed on these and then do the bidding of the American people because they represent us off of the information they get.
Right. But they're not part of those departments. They're not the ones gathering the intel.
Right. Okay.
Right.
They're not the ones gathering the intel.
Right. So,
but they should have access to the intel that's gathered, right? You think that?
You got to look at the declarations of the classifications on the intel. That's what you have to look at.
The classifications.
Classifications on intel, yes. The certain pieces of intel can be shared with Congress. Certain pieces can't.
So, like, we need to have a wider discussion on this. I don't want to do this live stream, but you and me, we need to sit down and we really need to debate why you think that, and because I want to give you a good argument. I don't like. I just don't want to do it today because
I know, but it's not really what I think. It's what's in place. You know what I mean? I'm not generating an opinion.
But that's literally the people. It's literally it's a secretive thing that they're keeping from our representatives, and we can't have the information to promote the general welfare. It's literally actively working against
you.
Us. It is.
But you wouldn't tell the public. You can't tell the public. But you can't tell the public, Tommy. It would cause hysteria.
But they can tell our representatives, right? They can tell our president.
No. That's why they have committees. They can only see certain things.
Why do you think that they can't do that?
They can only the committees that are responsible. That's it.
Okay, so you're just fine with them knowing and not our representatives knowing.
The representatives find out when they need to know. The president finds out every day.
Why are these people so special that they get to know things that we don't know? Why? Maybe
I just told you why. You don't. First of all, the reason for secret intelligence is so nobody knows you're doing it. Right? That's why they don't put it on the front page of a paper.
Our enemies don't know what we're doing.
Right. So then the other country that you're spying on knows that you're doing it.
I understand what you're saying.
That's the whole point of intelligence.
But our representatives are not another country. They're our representatives.
Right. But not every representative needs to know, right? So when your CEO of your company, right? CEO of your company, if he knows something about whatever, he doesn't fucking come tell the manager because you don't need to know.
What if I need to know that to like increase?
You don't need to know. If you need to know, he'll come tell you.
If I need to, so that's interesting.
You know what I mean? So let's say there's going to be a sell-off.
I definitely don't agree, but I understand what you're saying.
I understand you don't agree with it, but the sell-off.
That's fine, but I understand what you're saying.
Right. Let me just give you an analogy, right? So the CEO of a company, right, answers to a board of directors, right? They make the decisions for the company, right? So is that board of directors going to go down to a manager?
So our
and tell them
anything?
You don't even know if they're firing the CEO until it happens that day. You're not in charge of the compensation package. You're not in charge of anything that they get, right? They're not calling you and telling the manager.
That's correct.
Yeah, because you don't need to know.
Because they're shareholders in the business. They own the assets.
Not the board of directors doesn't.
Right. The board of directors does. They own most of the shares. They should
own
most
the board of directors.
They should be shareholders, right? I think.
No, because that's a conflict of interest.
Why do they care about the
conflict of interest? They have a fiduciary. They have a fiduciary obligation to make.
As shares, as a shareholder, in was it Hathaway? His business, his company. You don't think he has shares? He has the highest shares. I'm pretty sure. We should check this out. I'm pretty sure Warren Buffett has the highest shares in his company. I'm pretty sure that Elon Musk has the highest Tesla shares.
Right, Tesla's a private company.
Yes, exactly.
It's a private company. It doesn't get traded on the stock market.
Our country is not a private company. Founded on principles of life, liberty, and happiness, to all men created equal, and given to us.
Okay. So you want right. So let's say today we know right now that Russia's going to bomb Ukraine with a nuclear bomb. If you knew that right now, right? And you want whoever knows this knowledge, you want them to go on national TV and tell every citizen in the country.
Mark, I didn't say that. I said our representatives need to know. I didn't say go on national television and tell everybody. I said our representatives need to know. Just to clarify my
right. But the representatives of that committee, of the intelligence committee, will know.
Go on national television,
right? The representatives of the intelligence committee will know. Whoever's on that committee will know.
Okay, but why not our representatives? Because do you think they're going to go on national television and tell everyone? Is that why you don't want them to know?
What do you? Because I'm confused. Maybe I misunderstood.
Your analogy was, let's say they had a nuclear bomb, because you said on national television. But all I'm saying is that our representatives need to know everything that these people know, because they're appointed by them. They're the servants of them, and the president is the servant of us. It's a chain of command.
They're not servants. They're all elected by the people.
They're servants. In fact, they're not even servants. They're really just they're, what do you call them? They're serfs, because the servants are the politicians. The politicians serve us. They serve at our pleasure, and the appointees are serfs of our servants. It's a chain of command. It's a hierarchy, and the serfs can't have more information than the powers of the people, because we, the people, are the power. We promote the general welfare and secure the blessings of liberty. It's not
again. You keep saying we, the people.
Yes,
right. The people. Yeah, we the people. You do not need to know that information, because groups of people are stupid. Individuals are smart, right?
That's true.
Right. So if you tell 300 million, stop. Hold on for a second, Tommy. If you tell 300 million people plus, right, you're not going to do that.
But I will tell the president.
The president already knows. The president already knows. That's what his daily briefings are. That's what his daily briefings are.
And I'll tell the senators on the Intelligence Committee and the Armed Forces.
Whoever's relevant to that information will know, not the whole Congress, not 435 members will know. No, it's only the people on the committees, right?
Okay, so now we come to an understanding that at least the senators on the committees know, right?
Correct. They'll know that. Yeah.
Joe Biden was on those committees, and he knew the information, right? So he should have been able to devise from that, if he was not a moron or paid off by somebody from Raytheon or Lockheed Martin, that this was bullshit. And how could this be? Because Colin Powell, by the way, started to realize it was bullshit. Maybe
Condoleezza Rice was promoting it too. Yeah, she was promoting it too.
She was. Colin Powell
But the point is this: you're shown and given this information,
right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's it. How are you supposed to determine if that piece of information you get is correct?
You go off. You take that information and then you juxtapose it to other sources and other things like that. You make sure.
So what are you going to do? You're going to ask another nation, another nation's intelligence service to verify? Because all of them did. All of them told us that they didn't have any weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
The UN told us they didn't.
And then we could have gone to our allies, and their
right. So we went to Israel.
We could have gone to their Mossad, like Israel.
Right.
And
we went to Israel.
Them, what kind of information do you have?
But the point is, Tommy, they agreed because Israel had a direct.
They did.
Yeah, because they wanted regime change over there. You heard Netanyahu say it.
Not all our allies agreed. Remember?
No, not all of them at all.
Right. That's why we had to argue it out in Congress.
The UN said they didn't have it.
Right.
Because they had just inspected that fucking Iraq like a couple years before.
So that's how you find out about the information being true.
But they found out. So you got to trust somebody.
Yeah, you do.
Right. So you're gonna trust our own intelligence, whether it's wrong or right. You figure it out later. You trust our intelligence. Clearly, they were lied to, and Dick Cheney asked for
tortured people.
Dick Cheney specifically asked for information, regardless of when it was collected, on weapons of mass destruction from Iraq, because our own intelligence agency said we don't have anything lately. There's nothing, no intelligence coming out of there saying they have it. But the last time they got information or whatever was that they didn't have it, right? So Cheney was like, how do you really know? So basically it was a misinformation campaign about the people who gathered the information saying, oh, they don't really know anything. We can't count on people, people telling us this. So we got to go on the hard evidence that we have.
What was the hard evidence?
That they had some type of biological shit 20 years prior. It was based on 20-year-old intelligence.
That was the hard evidence?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Right? But who put Saddam Hussein in power?
That's a good point. If I was Zelensky, I would run.
No, but who put Iraq? I mean, who put Saddam Hussein in power? Who did?
Who did?
Yep. United States.
Guess who put Zelensky in power? We did. Guess who put Ashraf Ghani in power? We did.
We didn't put.
Ashraf Ghani had a helicopter full of money running out of Afghanistan because he knew that we were going to kill that guy. Zelensky, if you're smart, you'll realize that we eventually will tie us to loose ends. You're not safe.
Zelensky was elected.
Otherwise, there's going to be a car bomb somewhere in Kyiv, and we're going to blame it on Putin. Don't worry. Our parties are going to blame your death.
All right, now you're dipping into conspiracy theories, bro.
I just know that that's how it's going to go, bro. Like, as soon as the car bomb goes off in Zelensky's car, the first thing we're going to do is talk about how it's Putin's. But
of course, they're automatically going to be tied to him because they're at war with him.
Overthrew the Ukraine government in 2014 to put up Portachek. We did.
No, we did not. We did not.
We did not. The president has been our puppets since then.
We did not overthrow.
It's far after that. And
we did not.
We didn't.
Tommy, you just can't keep talking over me. You gotta let other people talk, bro.
Well, I was just trying to say the fact. I was trying to finish facts. I said in 2014, our CIA overthrew Ukraine. I'm sorry. So is that not true? Is that not true?
That's not true.
Okay. So
that's not true.
That's not true.
Sorry, what'd you say?
Why is it not true?
Because that didn't happen. Ukraine elected.
It says it in Wikipedia, bro. It says it even in Wikipedia. So I don't. Why
It
are you
says
saying
we overthrew. Okay, the United States overthrew the Ukraine government.
yes? So what?
No,
Even
no,
Vice
the United States did
Vice
not
says we
overthrow
did
the
it.
Ukraine government.
Guardian says we did it. The New York Times said we did it. So why Wikipedia says we
What?
did it? Why do you
No, we
we
didn't.
didn't do it?
What doesn't you? I'm going to Wikipedia right now. I'm going to go to Wikipedia right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where is it? Wikipedia. But this is a staples in California.
Ooh, baby, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Constitution.
2014, Viktor Yanukovych overthrow Haman. This is. So these sources like real fast now. Let's see where we go. Where do we go, my lovely politifer? Where do we go? I want to know, my lovely. $5 billion since 1991 promote democratic institutions in Ukraine. Then we ousted the president, Viktor Yanukovych, in 2014. And
Well,
we put in.
it
What did we
doesn't
do?
say that. Again, it doesn't say that on Wikipedia, the source you gave me.
Okay,
It
so
doesn't
what
say
does it
that.
say? What does it say? What does it say then? What does it say? What does it say?
Okay.
Tell me what it
Is
says.
following the protesters occupied government buildings throughout the country, and the Avarov government resigned.
Navaroth? What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Talk about Viktor Yanukovych, 2014. Viktor Yanukovych, 2014.
President Yanukovych's decision not to sign a political association, blah blah blah. Earlier in the year, Ukraine Parliament had overwhelmingly approved.
Guys, we're gonna have I'm gonna hit the live stream. It's already been almost an hour and a half, so if you guys want to hear any more, we'll probably continue this conversation a little bit. But you guys can hear more of it later on. www.tommynationpolitics.com. Like, share, subscribe, and please check out Trust Me Broski on. He's an amazing mod on Relentless's lives. Hopefully, he should be doing his own lives. Okay, I want to see how you do things, man. I want to see how you like things.
I'll try. But
yeah. Guys,
just to wrap up this resignation.
Yeah.
I guess he was his vice president or whatever. But Yanukovych and the Avarov government, they were called to resign.
By what?
I don't believe. So basically, they resigned. They left.
They resigned. It's thought that you resigned, and they did. Well, that's cool. All right, guys.
Are you shutting it down? All right.
I'm just shutting it down, but we can still talk.